Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Kenny Pickett brutally put down by former Pittsburgh Steelers teammate after NFL switch. Jaylen Warren has made his feelings about Kenny Pickett brutally clear in a comparison with Russell Wilson, suggesting that Pickett won't be missed at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Warren recently appeared on Cameron Hayward's podcast, Not Just Football with Cam Hayward, for a live NFL draft episode. During the chat, the running back was asked to compare the presence of Russell Wilson and Justin Fields to that of Pickett. Warren didn't mince his words when describing how Wilson's and Fields' demeanor contrasted starkly with Pickett's approach in Pittsburgh. "Oh, it's a night and day difference from last year, the leadership speaks volumes," he stated. The 25-year-old's description of Pickett's behavior aligns with other reports about the quarterback's conduct behind closed doors. Tensions reportedly flared between Pickett and the Steelers when Pickett allegedly refused to play in the Steelers' 30-20 victory over the Seattle Seahawks despite being medically cleared. In response, Pickett claimed that the coaching staff felt he wasn't fully fit to play. The situation seemed to reach a head when the Steelers signed Wilson to a one-year contract after the former Super Bowl champion was released by the Denver Broncos. Following Wilson's arrival from the Broncos, the Steelers traded Kenny Pickett to the Philadelphia Eagles for draft compensation. It's believed Pickett's handling of Wilson's arrival influenced the move. During his introductory press conference with the Eagles, Pickett stated that he dealt with his departure from Pittsburgh professionally. "I think the communication is what it is," Pickett said. "It was behind closed doors. I'm confident in the way I handled it. I handled it the way I should have handled it. I'm excited to be here. It worked out so well that Philly was the place I ended up landing in. So, I think everything happens for a reason and I'm right where I'm supposed to be." Pickett viewed the opportunity to play behind Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia as a good reset to move on from his time in Pittsburgh. "I just thought it was time," Pickett continued. "It just left like it was time from the things that transpired and I wanted to get a chance to go somewhere else and to continue to grow my career. The fact that it's in Philly, the place that I grew up, found a love for the game here, with a great coaching staff, great players, I'm looking forward to meeting these guys in a couple weeks when everyone gets back into town. But I think it's an awesome opportunity here to join this team." Could Michael Thomas make sense for Steelers? With new Pittsburgh Steelers offensive coordinator Arthur Smith coming on board to try and help the team's quarterback situation, they hope to see much better offensive play across the board, and that means that another weapon could help the entire offense out significantly. Pro Football Focus Brad Spielberger sees former Saints All-Pro wide receiver Michael Thomas as the ideal wide receiver for Smith's offense, and believes that Thomas could greatly help the team. Pittsburgh brought Allen Robinson aboard to serve as the big slot possession receiver in 2023, and while his lack of production was not entirely his own doing, perhaps the Steelers take another swing with Thomas, Spielberger wrote. And Spielberger now projected the type of contract that Thomas would command, stating that Thomas would likely cost $6 million with a one-year prove-it deal. Thomas was released by the Saints in March, even after restructuring his contract in 2023. He was only set to make $1.21 million in base salary and a $2.2 million roster bonus. Thomas caught 39 of 60 targets for 448 yards and 1 touchdown last season. Thomas could come far cheaper than a player of his caliber normally would come given his injury history. He missed a lot of time with an ankle injury and has yet to regain his form as a top NFL wide receiver at this stage in his NFL career. But what Thomas can do is out there and known to the Steelers and other teams. Still, it's unlikely he will command a ton of money to land him on the perfect team for his resurgence. Regardless of Thomas's market, the Steelers could be an interesting fit for such a talent after the team missed just one recorder on the slot. If they add Thomas to the receiving core to join George Pickens and Roman Wilson, they could help stabilize the group by adding Thomas. Thomas is supremely talented, a two-time first-team All-Pro and a three-time Pro Bowler. He led the NFL in receptions twice, yards once, and was the NFL Offensive Player of the Year in 2019. But the issue? It is those injuries. Thomas hasn't played a full season of football since 2019. He missed time with a high ankle sprain in 2020, missed all of 2021 after ankle surgery, all but 3 weeks of 2022 with a foot injury, and 7 games last year with a knee injury. He also got into a fight with a teammate in 2020 and was arrested for battery in 2023. 2025 mock draft predicts Steelers will select Big Ten quarterback. The Pittsburgh Steelers just finished putting together one of the NFL's best drafts a few days ago. Even after the success of that draft, there are a few positions that seem like they could be big needs for the Steelers a year from now. They could need to replace Cameron Hayward. They still need another long-term answer at cornerback. There is also the looming question of what happens for them at quarterback after the 2024 season. That question could be one they look to answer in next year's draft. In his way too early mock draft posted on April 29, the 33rd team's Marcus Mosher predicted that the Steelers would select Penn State quarterback Drew Allar in the first round of the 2025 NFL Draft. The Steelers are set for the 2024 season at the quarterback position. Whether it's Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, the team is going to have somebody under center who has shown they can be a capable starter in the NFL. Beyond the 2024 season is where things start to get interesting again for the Steelers. Right now, the team has 3 quarterbacks on their roster and none of their contracts go beyond 2024. Wilson is currently 35 years old and looked like he was already declining over the last 2 seasons, posting the lowest completion percentage of his career in 2022 and his least yards in a season in 2023. Kyle Allen is currently the 3rd stringer and is just a depth option at the position. Fields is the most interesting player for their future. He is only currently in his 4th year in the league and has shown flashes of real potential over the first 3. However, there are still concerns about him as a passer that could cause the Steelers to hesitate about making him their franchise QB. He'll have a chance to prove he can be the guy for them over the next year, but if he doesn't convince the Steelers, then they could find themselves looking for a QB again next offseason. There's a chance that they could take a big swing at the position if Dak Prescott really does reach free agency in 2025, but it seems much more likely that their next QB would be found in the draft. There were some solid parts of Allar's first season as the starting QB for Penn State. He threw 25 touchdowns passes while only being intercepted twice in 13 games. However, there were also some major concerns. His career completion percentage in college is below 60%. He also barely got over 200 passing yards per game in 2023. The biggest concern is that he disappeared in some of Penn State's biggest games this past season. In the team's loss to Ohio State, he went 18 for 42 passing the ball for just 191 yards. He was even worse against Michigan. In that loss, he was 10 for 23 and only threw for 70 yards. His performance against Mississippi in the Peach Bowl was a bit of a mixed bag. He only completed 48.7% of his pass attempts, but he did throw for 295 yards, which was his second most in a game all season, and a pair of touchdowns. Luckily for Allar and the team scouting him, he'll have plenty of chances to prove himself during the 2025 season. The Nittany Lions open the season with a trip to West Virginia. In October, they'll visit USC and Wisconsin. Then in November, they'll take on Ohio State and Washington at home. Those are all matchups that should have plenty of eyes on them where Allar will have chances to impress. Penn State is also a strong contender to make it to the college football playoff now that it is expanding. That would give Allar another big game in front of a national audience. Allar's second season as a starting QB will tell us a lot about what he has to offer in the NFL, and if he can put together a strong year, he could get to continue playing in Pennsylvania when he heads to the next level. And you fan? What do you think of the situation of Drew Allar? Leave your opinion in the comments.